You know, we usually look towards land, don't we, for the resources that power our world.
Traditionally, yes.
But picture this. A massive treasure trove of materials just lying there, hidden under the ocean waves. It's kind of surprising how much might be down there.
Absolutely. An untapped potential, really.
So today we're doing a deep dive into global seabed mineral resources. And we're using information pulled directly from the U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS.
Good source. Very thorough.
Right. And our mission basically is to pull out the key stuff, you
Wow.
know, what these resources are, where you find them, why they matter, but without grounding you in data.
Yeah, keep it focused.
Think of it as your guided tour of the USGS findings. And these findings, they're built on, well, decades of science, specific research trips, like that interesting one to the Escanaba Trough.
Oh, yeah, that was significant work on sulfide deposits, how they form near those deep-sea vents.
Exactly. But maybe stepping back first. Why do minerals matter so much? It seems obvious, but the USGS data really paints a picture.
Well, it's fundamental, isn't it? I mean, look around. Minerals underpin just about everything. Our roads, buildings, the tech in our hands, the energy grid.
Everything.
Yeah, the USGS reports really hammer home how dependent we are across, well, all parts of modern life.
Okay, so the USGS often mentions critical minerals. What exactly does that mean in their view? And why is it important for us, listening?
Right, so critical minerals, according to their 2022 definition, are basically minerals essential for the country's economic and national security.
Essential.
But, crucially, their supply chains are considered vulnerable.
Vulnerable how? Like we might run out.
Not necessarily run out globally, but vulnerable because of, say, where they're mined or processed, maybe geopolitical issues, or perhaps we just don't have much capacity to get them ourselves domestically.
Got it. So it's about reliable access, secure supply.
Exactly. That's the core idea.
Yeah.
And the USGS, they've been looking into this whole seabed thing for a while, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. Since 1962, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a long time.
Yeah. It is. Their whole mission is to provide impartial science, cutting-edge info about the resources and their environment down there. Which is vital, right? You need that solid science base before you can even think about responsible development, making informed decisions.
So it sounds like the USGS is really pushing into areas where we just don't know that much yet, these deep-sea frontiers. How do they actually gather the data?
Well, given how much of the ocean floor is, frankly, unexplored, they use a whole suite of techniques.
Like what, sending down robots?
Sometimes, yes, but also things like creating prospective maps, basically identifying areas likely to have minerals based on geology, ocean currents, that sort of thing.
Okay, mapping potential hotspots.
Precisely. And they study the actual processes, the geology, the chemistry, that make these elements concentrate in certain spots.
How they form in the first place.
Exactly. Plus, they look at the potential impacts. What might happen physically and chemically if extraction were to occur? And of course, studying the ecosystems themselves.
Right, the environmental side is huge. Absolutely critical. Understanding the life down there, the habitats.
It sounds incredibly comprehensive. You mentioned geology, chemistry, biology, and the USGS organizes this work internally, right, across different teams.
Yes, they leverage expertise from their three main mission areas. It's quite collaborative.
How does that break down?
So the Coastal and Marine Hazards and Resources Program, that's the group leading the main charge on investigating the minerals themselves.
Okay, the resource focus.
Right. They look at polymetallic nodules. Think places like the Clarion-Clipperton Zone or near the Cook Islands. Also, cobalt-rich crusts in the Pacific, Arctic, Atlantic, and those polymetallic sulfides like the work at Escanaba Trough we mentioned.
That Escanaba research, what was key about that?
It helped understand how these sulfide deposits form and evolve when they're covered in sediment, which is actually pretty different from many other vent sites. Gives us a broader picture.
Interesting. And the other USGS mission areas, what's their role?
Well, the Land Management Research Program brings in the ecological expertise.
The environmental angle again.
Yeah, exactly. Characterizing the seabed life, the water column ecosystems, and crucially, studying potential environmental effects of, say, disturbing those habitats.
Any recent examples?
Yeah, they've done recent work on the Blake Plateau. There's a 2024 USGS publication on that. And that actually builds on research going way back, even some early mining tech tests in the 70s.
Wow, so decades of observation.
And then there's the Mineral Resources Program. They provide the broader context expertise on natural resources generally, mineral life cycles, supply chains, all through their National Mineral Information Center.
So the big picture economics and resource knowledge.
That's right. It's a central hub for data on all sorts of mineral commodities.
It's really impressive how they weave these different scientific threads together. And presumably, they don't do this in a vacuum. They work with other agencies.
Oh, absolutely. Close collaboration is key. They work with BOAM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management.
They handle the regulation side.
Right, for the U.S. Outer Continental Shelf.
Yeah.
And also with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
And NOAA's role.
NOAA oversees U.S. activities related to potential mining in international waters. So these partnerships ensure the USGS science directly informs the people making the regulatory decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. So we know why seabed minerals matter, who's studying them. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What are these minerals and where in the vast oceans do we find them?
Well, first off, they're basically everywhere, in every ocean basin, from relatively close to shore way out into the deep.
Everywhere. Really?
In some form, yes. And remember, the U.S. Exclusive Economic Zone, the EEZ, it's actually larger than the entire land area of the United States. Huge underwater territory.
That's incredible. I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, it's vast. But in the deep ocean, the main focus right now for exploration is on three key types: polymetallic nodules, polymetallic sulfides, and cobalt-rich ferromanganese crusts.
Okay, let's break those down. Polymetallic nodules first. What are they? Potatoes.
They often get described that way. Potato-shaped or maybe lumpy pancakes, they just lie scattered on the deep sea floor on these vast flat areas called abyssal plains.
And how deep are we talking?
Seriously deep. Generally between 11,500 and maybe 21,325 feet. So miles down.
Wow. And what's in these nodules that's valuable?
Key metals are things like nickel, copper, cobalt, and manganese. And importantly, all four of those are on that critical minerals list we talked about.
All critical. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah. They can also contain potentially valuable amounts of rare earth elements, plus yttrium that's often grouped as REY, and also lithium. Lithium's also critical, of course.
Right, for batteries. Okay, so that's nodules. Polymetallic sulfides sound chemically complex.
They are formed differently, that's for sure. They form at hydrothermal vents. Think underwater hot spring.
Black smokers, things like that.
Exactly. You find these vents in tectonically active zones where new ocean floor is being made at mid-ocean ridges or where plates are colliding at subduction zones.
And the minerals?
The main ones are usually copper, zinc, gold, silver, and lead. Zinc is critical.
Okay. But you mentioned byproducts earlier for these.
Yes, and that's what makes sulfides particularly interesting. They can contain a whole cocktail of other elements, many critical. Things like beryllium, bismuth, cadmium, cobalt again, chromium, gallium, germanium.
Wow, quite a list.
Mercury, indium, manganese, molybdenum, nickel, selenium, tin, tellurium, even platinum group elements. A really diverse mix.
A lot of critical stuff potentially concentrated there. Okay, third type. Cobalt-rich ferromanganese crusts.
Right. So these aren't loose nodules. They're crusts that form directly onto hard rock surfaces on the seafloor.
Like a coating.
Exactly. Often found coating underwater mountains called seamounts. The depths can range quite a bit, maybe 1,300 feet down to 23,000 feet.
And the key metals? I'm guessing cobalt?
Definitely cobalt.
Okay.
Also manganese, nickel, and copper. Again, manganese, cobalt, and nickel are all critical.
And byproducts here too.
Yep. REY again, tellurium, scandium, and platinum show up. All critical as well.
It's fascinating how these different formations concentrate different mixes of elements.
It is. And these crusts grow incredibly slowly, precipitating minerals out of seawater over millions of years, layer by layer.
So cobalt and manganese seem to be common threads across nodules and crusts.
They do appear frequently, yes.
Are there other seabed minerals worth a quick mention?
Yeah, briefly, you also have things like REY-rich muds in some deep ocean sediments, phosphorite deposits, mainly on continental margins and seamounts, important for phosphorus, obviously, but can have REY.
Used in fertilizers, right.
Primarily, yes. And then there are heavy mineral sands, closer to coasts usually. They contain things like titanium, tin, sometimes platinum, gold, silver, REY.
Okay, lots of variety. But are all these places, ready to mine?
No. That's a really important point the USGS makes. As of now, 2025, only a very few specific locations have been studied enough to be considered actual deposits, meaning potentially viable for commercial development. Most areas are still just considered prospective.
So, lots of potential, but detailed knowledge is still limited to certain spots.
Precisely. We know the potential is there,
Yeah.
but the detailed mapping and assessment is ongoing.
And the USGS actually provides maps showing some of these high potential areas.
They do. They have maps showing prospective zones for nodules and those cobalt-rich crusts. The maps also highlight the mid-ocean ridges and back arc basins where the sulfides tend to form.
So you can visually see the geological settings.
Yeah, and for folks wanting more detail, reports like those by Mazel and others, or Gartman and others, really dig into those specific regions.
This really drives home the sheer scale of potential resources sitting on the ocean floor. And linking it back, as we keep saying, so much of this ties into that critical minerals list.
Absolutely. Let's draw that line clearly again.
Yeah.
A huge chunk of the elements we've discussed in the nodules, the sulfides, the crusts, they're on that 2022 USGS critical list. We're talking nickel, cobalt, manganese, the whole suite of REY.
Like neodymium, dysprosium.
Exactly. The ones vital for high-strength magnets in EVs, wind turbines, electronics, lasers. Then there's lithium, zinc, beryllium, bismuth, cadmium, chromium, gallium, germanium, indium.
It's a long list.
Molybdenum, selenium, tin, tellurium, and the platinum group elements. They're present in various combinations and concentrations across these different deposit types.
And critical, again, means vital for the economy and security, but with those supply chain worries.
Correct. That's the definition.
Yeah.
Importance plus vulnerability.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this underwater journey. We've explored this surprising world of seabed minerals using the USGS work as our guide.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen why they matter, especially those critical ones. We looked at the really crucial role the USGS plays in just understanding these deep environments.
Both the resources and the ecosystems.
Right. And we've unpacked the main types, nodules, sulfides, crusts, and roughly where they are found globally.
And stepping back, you really see the potential significance. As global demand for critical materials keeps rising, driven by tech, green energy transitions, these seabed resources could become increasingly important.
That definitely leads to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to really mull over.
Yeah.
Given this immense potential we've discussed, think about the balance between the exciting promise of accessing these resources versus the environmental questions that are still very much on the table.
It's a huge consideration.
Yeah, the USGS reports themselves highlight this ongoing research, like on the Blake Plateau. Our understanding of potential impacts is still developing, still growing.
Definitely not fully understood yet.
So what are the wider implications for technology, for the economy, and maybe most importantly for the planet's health long term?
Fine.
It's a complex equation, isn't it?
Mm.
Lots to weigh up. Something to keep thinking about.